When I was 6 years old, I found a Life magazine. And on the cover of the Life magazine was a woman crawling after her baby. The thing is, they were both naked. You could see on the woman, the right-hand side of her chest, you could see the right side of her breast, and you could see her nipple. This was an amazing development. I called together all my buddies in the neighborhood, and it was incredible. Stood by the driveway, inspected the photo, looked at the pictorial inside, term I didn't know until I was a teenager. And we were so involved in this that we didn't hear my dad drive up. So he pulls up, and my neighbors just scatter to the winds. I hold it behind my back, and my dad comes up and he says, "David, what's that behind your back?" Nothing, Daddy. Nothing. Come on, David. Hand it over. What is it? Nothing, Daddy. Nothing. David Farrell Williams. I go, oh. Hand it off to him. He looked at it, chuckled. He was a physician in town. And he kneels down, he puts his hand on my shoulder and says, "David, the human body is the most beautiful thing in the world. Never be ashamed of it." He handed me the magazine, tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Now come on in for dinner." It was the greatest day of my life. Now, just so you don't think our house was like some palace of wise words, good food, and softcore pornography, my dad was very, very unpredictable. You know, he had a very important position in town, well respected, well loved, but he needed his quiet time, and it was always like walking on eggshells sometimes. I mean, we couldn't even flush the toilet when he was on call, so it's a hard habit to give up if you haven't already tried. We always tried to connect on certain things, so like all fathers and sons do. And one time when I was watching Saturday Night Live in high school, the phone rang at like midnight. He's like, "Oh shit, Daddy's got a call. There's some accidents happened," because he was the medical examiner for Benton County when he was on call. So he comes down and he goes, "Hey David, some guy in a TR7 missed the turn on the Walnut, flipped the car and took his head off. Do you want to come?" So that kind of ruled out being a doctor. So one thing, though, that we did have in common was our love for the Oregon State Beavers. And we've been pretty good the last 10 years, football. But for 30 years, for 28 straight years, we had a losing season every year. It was heinous. If you were a sports fan, it was the worst thing that you could ever imagine. And my dad took every loss personally. So every fall, I get the schedule out, and I'd go win, loss, win. "Hey, Daddy, this is the year. 6 wins. We're gonna get 6 wins." He goes, "Sure, David, sure." Every year, it was the same drill. And finally, I think in my early 20s, I finally had the guts to face up to him, and I said, "Hey, Daddy, come on. Why do you think we're ever gonna win?" And he looks at me square and he just goes, "David, I have been picked up and dropped too many times." And I talked to my friends who are Beaver fans, they're like, "That's it, that's exactly it. You get your hopes up and they just get dashed immediately, so you're left with nothing. So why not just expect the worst?" That is the plight of the Beaver fan, my friend. So, fast forward to 1999, we're in attendance as we win our 6th game and guarantee a winning season. Do the old, uncomfortable father-son hug from the side, the kind of awkward high 10, because he's born in 1933, he has no idea. So, so then in July of 2000, he's diagnosed with myelodysplasia, which is also known as smoldering leukemia, and he was given a year to live. So a funny thing happened that fall of 2000. Oregon State was not only good, we were great. We went 10-1, and before the bowl game was announced, my dad said, "Okay, kids, You guys get to wherever the bowl game is, and I will buy the game ticket, the hotel, all the food and drinks. We're in. So when it was announced that we were going to play Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl on January 1st, 2001, are you kidding me? We have the meager Beavers going against the Fighting Irish. And it was incredible. It was like a dream come true. And we stomped them 41-9. The last game, the last Beaver game my dad ever saw. A month later, on my birthday, he was diagnosed with acute leukemia and given 6 months to live. By the end of July, he was able to see his eldest daughter, my older sister, marry the man of her dreams. And 2 weeks later, he was in Seattle to see his granddaughter marry her man of her dreams. And the night before the wedding, after the rehearsal dinner, he got sick and had to go to the hospital. He was transported down to Corvallis because he knew what hospitals were all about. So he got the hell out of them and came home to be taken under the care of hospice. Well, the first part of August is when the college football, the preseason college football issue for Sports Illustrated comes out. Who's number one on the cover of Sports Illustrated is the number one team in the country? Your Oregon State Beavers. He couldn't believe it. So on August 11th, I went to Rich's magazine store, and I grabbed a dozen copies. I hauled ass down to Corvallis, ran to his bedroom, showed him the magazine, opened up one of my own. I said, "Can you believe this?" He's like, "Oh, wow." What did he say? He says, "Look at that. Would you look at that?" 4 days later, on the night before his 48th wedding anniversary, he died in my mom's arms. 3 weeks later, Oregon State got stomped by Fresno State. 2 weeks after that, we got stomped by UCLA. What ended up happening that year, ladies and gentlemen? A losing season. We went 5-6. But my dad never saw that. He was in attendance when we beat Notre Dame, the most storied program in college football history, 41-9, and he saw Oregon State as his lasting memory as the number one team in college football. He was finally picked up and not dropped. Thank you.